Well, good morning. It's great to see you, and welcome back to the shop, where this morning we finally got the replacement part for the Ryobi leaf blower that we picked up off the curb a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to put a link in the description to that video just so you can see how we got here to a point where we've gone far enough down the rabbit hole where we just got to see where this leads. Let's take a second just to appreciate what happened to this blower assembly. It looks like this whole shaft here just melted and broke and came apart, and that obviously was a catastrophic failure that caused this whole engine to stop moving. But that actually turns out to be great news, because that means that the problem is not internal to the engine. And as you can see now that the piece is out, this shaft rotates just fine. If there was something wrong internally in the engine here, it would not make any sense to try to fix it. We'd just end up junking the whole thing. Instead, we were able to go on the old interwebs, find this for a pretty reasonable price. I think it was something in the mid-30s with shipping and tax included. Instead of tearing an engine apart, even if we could find the parts, all we really need to do is just install it. It fits right in here like this. We need to just assemble this back piece on here, put the rest of it together, and I think we'll be in business. So let's get going on that. Now, the last thing I took off, even after I took off the shroud and the blower assembly, was this muffler, because I don't know if you recall me saying, but there's something that's rattling in here, and I was wanting to see if that was something we could take care of. But this is sealed. I think it's probably a baffle or something that's come loose in there. And shy of getting a new muffler, there's really just no way to fix it. And I think that's just a noise we're going to have to put up with. I don't think it's going to hurt the muffler at all. But I have to put the muffler on before I put the rest of it together, because there's a bolt that's accessed from behind the blower assembly that we're going to put on that goes right in that hole right there. So that's the first thing we're going to have to do. It goes on just like this. See this little nut here, this little square nut slides into that slot, and then it gets tightened up there, and if it's loose, it'll just fall out. I got to put one on from underneath, and then this goes here. So you see, you've got to take the whole blower assembly out just to get the muffler off. Okay, so this goes on like this. These tines tie in with these, and that helps turn the shaft. There we go. Drop that in there. So once that's in place, we got to put this little spring in. This right here. It goes right there. It goes right on that. And then this piece here just goes on. And all that spring does is just create a little tension with the bearing in there. And it just lays on that bearing and creates a little tension so that this thing doesn't wobble. And then all we do is, the bearing's already in the piece here. So then we just line that up and we put these screws in. Okay, that's all put together. Now we have to put this carburetor back on and hook up the coil and the gas tank, and then we can give it a good crank and see if this thing will start up. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to hook up the coil, get that squared away, and then we'll put the carburetor on. So this is the coil here, and what it does is it creates a spark. As this flywheel goes around, there's a magnet that's right there, and it passes this coil and creates a spark. This coil is, as the name implies, is just a coil of copper windings, and when a magnet goes by copper, through copper, it creates an electrical charge, and if you do that fast enough, that creates a current, which is then transferred down this wire into the spark plug, and the engine does its thing from there. These two wires, I believe, are just kill wires, so that up at the throttle you can push a button and interrupt that spark and kill the engine when you want to without having to disconnect the spark plug. But I'm going to go ahead and connect them anyhow. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with keeping the engine running, but it might keep us from stopping the engine. So I do want to put those in place. Watch this as this goes by. Now there's a little bit of space I've created. See that space? Just see what that wants to do. It wants to pull towards the magnet. There's got to be a little bit of space, and typically they say the width of a business card is correct. That's probably a little too much there, so I'm going to tighten it and then slowly just create a little bit of a gap. Probably should use my gap gauges, but I'm not going to. I'm too lazy to do that. So, all right, I got that gap set. It's just about the width of a thin piece of cardboard, like I said, about the width of a business card. I don't know if you can see that or not. I think that'll be fine. Got that all set. So let's turn our attention to the carburetor. The carburetor's kind of two pieces here. We've got the air box and then the carburetor. So yeah, a lot of times when I'm taking these apart, I just put the screws back in where they go. That way I know where they are and where they go, instead of guessing. Because sometimes, like this time, it's several weeks between the time I take it apart and the time I put it together. I'm glad I did that, because I would have been wondering, is this the right screw? Is that the right screw? This way I know that's the right fastener. All right, that's nice and snug. Next, we're going to put the carburetor on, and then the choke mechanism. I was thinking it's a shame about this muffler. It's going to sound like a box of rocks when we turn it on. It's going to sound like a coffee can full of rocks just rattling around. It's going to sound awful. But, I went on the old interwebs and just out of curiosity to see how much they would cost, and they're not available. You can't get one that fits this anymore. So not even a Chinese knockoff is available. So kind of solved that problem. We're going to have to use what we've got, and we're going to have to kind of dance with the girl we brung to the dance. That's all there is to it. So this goes on like this. Okay, yeah, just like that. And then these go here. That looks about right. If the hoses from the gas tank don't reach, we'll know we did it wrong. Maybe there is. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. That goes in there just fine. If you can see that, but that's the choke mechanism. That's all it really is restricting airflow, giving it more of a richer fuel mixture when it's cold, and then giving it more air and thinning out the fuel mixture when it gets running. That's how a choke works. That's it. Just put the rest of this box on. We don't really need it, but it's kind of nice because it's got the instructions on it. All right. Now, in order to give us a good pull, we're going to have to put this cowling on and tighten it down, because this mechanism here spins this mechanism here, which in turn, as we talked about, creates a spark here, which ignites a fuel that goes into the chamber. I believe it goes like this, something like this. And as I recall, it's rather difficult to get just right. So we'll be back in a minute when we figure this out. All right, we got that cowling down. There were 4 nuts, bolts, screws, whatever. One here, one here, one here, and one over here. And it was rather difficult to get them lined up correctly, but it's important so that this thing pulls correctly. And you can hear already. Hear that? That is that muffler just rattling around in there. Every time we move this thing, it rattles. It's going to make a racket, and this thing is going to sound horrible, but I think it's going to sound better than if we just didn't have a muffler at all. So we'll leave it in there, and I'll continue to see if I can't find something out there on the old interwebs that might work. So, all right, next thing we got to do is put the gas tank in so it's got some fuel coming, and then we'll give it a pull and see what happens. All right, we got the gas tank next. Might as well wipe it off while we got it out. We can get at these parts there. Doesn't that look a whole lot better? Yeah. I believe this goes on like that. That hole goes there, and that hole goes there. And we use these screws here, because we got a zillion of them, and they fit. That's why we're going to use them. Oh, no, not that one. See, that's different. Let me use one of these. Okay. And I don't know if you can recall from the video that we did previously when we took this apart, but I had these marked. One with a piece of tape. I think the one that went on the top was the one that I put a piece of tape on, just to make sure that we knew which one went where. But somehow that piece of tape disappeared, and now we're left to guess. But I think we can make a pretty educated guess. Let's see, there's my needle nose pliers, just based on the length. You know, this isn't gonna reach there. This one comes around and comes over the top. So we're gonna use that to put this in place. If you can see that or not. Put that in place. Put this in place. And all right, in theory, we should be able to turn this thing on, at least get it to spark. All right, let's give this a shot. You're full? All right. Yeah, it sounds terrible, but it's running. That sounds terrible at low speeds, but that's that muffler rattling around there. It works great. Let's turn this off. All right, so that seems to work just fine. You know, it's bogging down a little bit at full throttle. Probably need to adjust the carburetor a little bit. It rattles terribly at, you know, you can really hear it at the low speeds when the engine isn't as loud. It's that muffler that's rattling around there, but everything else is solid. I'm going to put the cover on the back here, and then I'm going to see if I can't put the backpack harness assembly on this and give it a little test run, see how it performs out in the wild. But I'm excited. We got her going. All right, I got the backpack harness on. We've got a few leaves out here that have started to fall already this autumn. Friends, like I said, I think we've got ourselves a runner here. I'm pretty pleased with it. I mean, for $34, $35 to replace this and a little bit of time, you know, we got ourselves a working blower. I mean, it sounds a little rough at low speeds, but that's only because of that rattling in the muffler. Once it gets up to speed and the engine noise covers it up, that engine runs just great. And, you know, it certainly puts out a lot of volume and moves some leaves, which is all I'm really looking for. I think we're going to call this done and finish this video up. If you liked what you saw here and you'd like to see more of it, feel free to leave us a comment, give us a like, and we sure would love it if you would subscribe. We're trying to move forward in that side of things. So we'd appreciate all the support you could give, and we will see you in the next one, which is coming soon. Thanks.